Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life Theories with your hosts, me, Sarah from Big Soul Healing, Diana from Trailblazers of the Universe, and Jay from Journey of a White Feather. And today's episode, we are going to be talking about the dangers of playing in the astral and calling in energies and entities that are very high powered that maybe we shouldn't be calling in right now. Um, this topic basically came to my field because I was in a circle of very wonderful women, and we were working with specific energies, and a specific energy or entity got called in, and a whole bunch of stuff went wrong. The group fell apart, and it really destroyed a lot of really amazing relationships that were very valued and precious, basically went to the wayside because energies were called in that, in my opinion, and this might be not a very popular opinion, but energies that were entirely too powerful for people in the modern day age to be calling in. I'm going to explain a little bit throughout the episode what I mean by that. But yeah, we called
I think
in
it's quite. I think it's
and
quite simple. I think it's quite simple in my opinion. What you just said, you've been doing the work. You know exactly what you're doing. You've had training. You understand what you're doing. People out there. Here we go. You want something? People out there start playing in stuff. They got no idea what the hell they're doing.
well, no, hold on a second. This person that called in the energy does know what she's doing, and
Oh,
that's
really? So what? So
yes,
how did that?
that's the problem
Mm.
because where the problem is, and this took me a lot of self work and discovery work and working with my guides and my higher self, and really deduce, like, I had to even do research and try to find out what was going on here. And I sat with my intuition, I sat with my higher self, and I really had to figure out, A, why I was even called into that group in the first place, if this is what was going to happen, and B, how did that all go so wrong when the person that was guiding the group has training and knows about all of this stuff and has worked with it for many years. Like, how did this go so wrong? And the answer to that came to me in a very intuitive way. I did a lot of research. I was doing a lot of like mental deduction. And then I kind of just put the books away for a while, and I sat with myself and with my higher self, and I asked, what the fuck? Like, I literally just had to ask, what the fuck? Like, what happened? And the answer came back. Excuse me. The answer came back. Um, that energy and entity at its core is very good and divine and just a beautiful entity to work with. However, that is an ancient entity. The people of ancient times were able to connect with those frequencies, the frequencies of the gods, okay, the gods and goddesses that they were worshiping back in Egyptian days. The
Mm-hmm.
people of that time were at a completely different frequency or vibration than
That makes sense.
modern day people are. Okay. Modern day people have so much 3D resistance around them, and that ancient civilizations didn't. The trauma that has passed from their ancient times to now has ancestrally built in our DNA. We are so much more ingrained with trauma and fear and depression and darkness than we were before, much more so than the people in the ancient times. So when modern day people are trying to call in these big, very strong, high vibrational entities. And we are here at a very low vibrational 3D
Mm.
energy. We are not in alignment with
It's
that
not a
energy
match. It's
of
not a
that God.
vibrational match. Yeah,
We
yeah.
are not a vibrational match. We can't even comprehend the messages that they're trying to show us because their frequency is that much higher than ours. But what we
Mm.
can comprehend is an imposter entity. And these
Mm.
big wig entities of the old ancient Egyptian times, even into like Jesus times, like Jesus is another one that's very heavily impostered. And like, you know,
So what do you mean by imposted there? For the
I mean by impostered, is that
so
what you said?
meaning imposted. So I'm just saying something's coming in other than
Yeah.
the true energy. If I'm
Kind of like
correct, if
faking
I'm
like it's that. It's like
Yeah,
fake
so
it,
they will appear to you in the form of Jesus, the Jesus that we visually know and praise and
okay,
worship, all of that, right? So say you're working with Jesus. A lot of people on this planet aren't at the vibrational match to actually experience Jesus's energy. So when they call him in to work with him, they will be met with an energy that is cloaked or disguised as Jesus and who is masquerading as Jesus to get your attention and to get you in your whatever it is desperate state or your state of
mm.
looking for help or assistance or guidance. They will come in and give you flawed or improper guidance and energy.
so you talk about demons?
Because what's that?
Talk about demons?
Yeah, any sort of demon or lower energy, lower vibrational energy being that exists on our planet or in this energetic field of Earth. Um,
So the only name that comes up to me is I'm looking at it now, saying I'm working with the shadow. Morning, everyone. I'm sorry about this. I've just had another gig as usual. Um, Resident rock star around here. Well, suburban
working
or
with the shadow is a lot different than working with demons.
well, what
And
do I
that's
mean by that? Hang on. What I mean by that is I'm always attracted to the dark. The dark meaning that things like this happen. I look at them, God, and I really get excited to work with them because what it is, because people think the shadow is evil and it's not. So, and they
shadow is
mistake it.
not, but demons are. So you have to
Hang
be
on,
really careful.
hang on. What I'm saying, yeah, demons are yes, exactly right, but where they influence. But what you're saying is understanding where people are at and how they're trying to influence people on this earth because they've got been disconnected from the universe and the earth, and their shadow selves have been you know throttled with all this garbage that we've been told to do when we were younger and all that stuff. That gives these things more power. Now, where I'm going, the download I'm getting is Demon Slayer, right? And all of us, three of us, are like that. So, because I've been doing a lot of bit of work with this, it's funny you bring this stuff all up. But yeah, just trying to distinguish between those entities coming through and distinguish them from their shadow self. So it's just like an episode of Charmed. I think it's
Well,
the fear factor. I think it was. It was basically I can't remember the actual demon. My daughter would know it because she knows everything about it. That was influencing one of the Charmed ones. That when they did bring in. So it's very funny. You talk about bringing these entities coming in and being imposters. Yeah, very very interesting stuff. So I'm thinking like those one could be influencing people's shadow as such. They mistake the learning that they could get from actually going into their shadow, which is what I'm doing now. I've done a lot of work the last, lot of research last, oh God, especially the last 6 months. And then what you're saying is these people trying to influence, and we've got them on this earth, but we'll leave it at that.
yeah, so basically what I'm saying is from what I've learned in trying to figure out what the fuck happened, because in this circle, an entity was called in, a god was called in, that is supposed to be the god of knowledge, I believe. And very amazing, beautiful, wonderful god to work with if you are of the frequency to perceive it. What I was told in this intuitive download was the person calling in this god was trained well enough to do the job, to be able to actually call in the energy. Okay. The problem was the people in the group that were there were not of the frequency or
Yeah.
vibration to perceive the real version of this God. Okay. So what happened was every single person in that group was at a slightly different frequency, and every single person in that group got affected by a different imposter of that God when
Oh
this
wow.
circle was
Yeah.
closed. One of us got really horrible visuals and psychic attacks. Like for months on end, she was being psychically attacked. And every time she closed her eyes, horrible visions would come into her. A lot of really nasty stuff was happening to her because of this. And what was happening to me was I was getting all of these feelings like something's not right. You need to protect yourself more. You need extra protection. And I was getting called, like, even in the circle, I got an intuitive nudge. And one of my guides even said, like, I'm here to protect you right now. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I'm in a circle with my friends. Like, why am I being protected right now? So I was like, okay, call in my crew, protected. I felt better being protected. But when that circle was done, I had all these questions like, what the fuck just happened there? And like, even in the end of the circle, a bunch of shit came out of my mouth that was so inappropriate for that circle. And I knew it, but I don't even know why. Like, I opened my mouth and I just started blurting all this conspiracy stuff into a sacred circle group. And it was like, that is not the time or the place. And I know that deep down. But for some reason, I could not get myself to stop saying it. And it was really like bizarre and weird for me. And then when I realized like what I had done, I apologized and I did my best to, like reel myself back in, but I felt thrown off for the rest of the day. And I'm like, why am I suddenly in this mindset when I was in doing this spiritual work? And like now all of a sudden I'm in the mindset of like everyone's out to get me and like, like government wise and like just thinking about like, all of that shit. When it's like I just came out of a sacred circle about like healing the energy of the planet and drawing in like the energies of the masculine and the feminine. Like it was a really beautiful group that we did, but for some reason, the moment it was done, I was just like blah, 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 spewing all this shit that had nothing to do with it. And I was like, where did that come from? And I honestly believe it was from the version of the dark entity that I was experiencing because, to be honest, there are versions of this entity that I've heard a lot of people talk about that is very linked to like heavy.
Because I'm obsessed with demons. First thing that downloads coming to me is there's another, when you open the portal, regardless of how trained you are there. So this is interesting, where you're not even, you can play with seances. Here we go.
I just
And all.
wouldn't do that right now.
Let me say, not say you play with seances and all those things, but it looks like, from what you're telling me, is every single time that people actually do like a meditation or something to bring in some good energy, the cheeky little buggers try to get in and overtake someone, and they've got the power because they go to people like us because we have done the work to go from 3D to 5D, but obviously we're more involved than a lot of other people doing this work, so they must know what's going on. God, we can get locked up for this stuff. Jeez, get the
So,
straitjackets out. But you get where I'm going. So I reckon,
yeah,
first thing that's coming to me is you are Raven from Titans, and you are so connected. Unfortunately, we attract this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you get where I'm going, does that make any sense?
It does, yeah. And the funny you should mention this, most of the people in that circle that got infiltrated by these imposter gods um, are very high vibrational people. And they're very trained people. They're very skilled people. Some of them are still in their training processes, but their capacity to be able to connect and do this work is extremely high. And the one girl actually that I feel in the group that has the highest capacity but the least training, she is the one that got the most negative effects from this. And the really kind of sad and weird part about it all that makes me 100% believe that this is an imposter that got called in and is now even affecting the practitioner's energy. When I expressed my fear and concern about what happened in that circle, rather than there being any type of curiosity towards what happened, I basically got shamed and blamed for being the one that brought up the conspiracy stuff. And it was like instantly my fault that this circle didn't go the way it was supposed to, and everybody's getting attacked because of what I said at the end. And I kept trying, I apologized so many times. And I even agreed, even though I knew like that wasn't fully correct. I was like, just try and play
There's
devil's
no
advocate.
way it's not your fault, Sarah. That's crap.
No, I know, but
It's
like
not.
I literally like I honestly believe that this imposter, even though the practitioner was so trained and so aligned with this knowledge and training, I even believe she got infiltrated by an imposter too, because the amount of shame and blame that got projected onto me for the closing of that group, despite my many apologies, despite my sincerity, despite my even admitting I expressed my fears 100% from a place of trauma. I should have expressed myself and opened that conversation in a less abrupt and finger pointy way. And I'm so sorry that I did that. And for whatever reason, like everything that came out of her mouth after my apologies was just more shame and blame projection. And that's why I believe that even the most trained people can get affected by this stuff, because there is no way a practitioner, in my opinion anyway, and this is just again another opinion, a practitioner that is really in their power, if they were super in their power and like of the light and doing all the things, if a client or someone participating in one of their groups came to them with a fear or a concern, even if it was brought up in a trauma response, there would be no shame or blame. It would be all curiosity and how can we bring more comfort to this situation, and or maybe it's better if you know you're not comfortable with these types of things to not come back to the circle until you are. But there was never any of that. It was very much like, well, you should just leave if you're not comfortable, and a lot of projection on what happened with the other people in the group being my fault. And it, like if these entities were truly being called in, none of that projection of blame and shame would have happened. And the conversation would have gone a lot differently. But instead, it was it was brought up in a way where it was like, well, this is all ending, and it's kind of like, it was said love and light, like I'm letting this go with love and light, but there was a lot of like shame and blame, shame and blame, shame and blame. So we have to be very careful, because even though we're very trained, if we notice or catch ourselves shaming, blaming, snapping at people, especially clients and people who are legitimately coming with us to try to express a fear or a concern, and we immediately jump to shame and blame them, we know we're no longer working with the gods, because shame and blame
All at lower
does not
frequencies, yeah, and like how
come
you feel,
doesn't come
yeah,
from a
it should
higher
it
source.
should feel better and have a higher like vibration
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah, it should,
yeah.
yeah. And if it's like
So
intrusive thoughts too, I think that's another thing.
yeah,
Like intrusive thoughts, it should just be more like divine guidance, not like a bunch of things
yeah.
like attacking. I think that.
Happened so that we could all learn this lesson. And I believe the lesson in that was modern day practitioners, no matter how trained you are, no matter how much knowledge you have of these gods, with the 3D reality in which our population lives in on this timeline, is nowhere near the frequency, the match to frequencies of ancient cultures. We're nowhere near that. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot more training to get us to that, if we can even get back to that frequency as people, to be honest with you. It's a totally different thing from ancient times to modern day times. And we, as modern day people, need to put that into practice. And what I believe the lesson in this was respect the ancient gods and goddesses. If you want to light a candle to them, if you want to do that, that's great. But calling them in, getting their advice, getting their input, asking for them to be active parts of your life is extremely dangerous in modern times. No
Mm,
matter how trained you are, you may still open up yourself to a demonic energy that is masquerading as that God. And the chances of that now happening now are more likely than ever, because of all of the portals that are open on this planet right now, and because of how thin the veil is. So those lower frequency energies are pouring into the planet like freaking crazy right now.
mm.
And if you're not careful, the moment you call in a god that is bigger than you, outside of you, you are calling in any number of things that could come to you and say, yep, I'm that. Then you won't notice it until months down the road, when you realize, wow, I'm shaming and blaming people. I'm doing this instead of coming from a place of light. Like I have a short fuse instead of being open. Like all of these different things that you don't even realize you've come to that point until someone's like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you such a bitch lately?
Okay, I'm gonna throw a spanner in that one. It's not a spanner. Working with a lot of people that are actually becoming spiritually aware and finding themselves becoming frustrated in a way where they are put into situations where the universe might say to them, okay, I'm going to give you this situation to remind you of where you're at in life. For example, I'll give you my example of this is why I'm bringing it up. Telling you to say, because it's since the Lionsgate portal, and I think some other people, so much stuff happening. There's been a lot of things, a lot of messages been given to me with regards to the frustration of living in the 3D and actually having the balls to stand up and take the next step into your new life, right? So when you're talking about that and people getting frustrated at things that are not supposed to be not supposed to be frustrating. For example, at the school I'm at, sort of feeling that frustration. Go, oh, I always say to myself, oh, this isn't happening. You're sort of getting a bit snappy, but you're not. It's a good position for what it is in 3D, but you've got it. They're giving you reasons to get out, and you're feeling that you're frustrated, and and they're giving you situations to remind you to say, listen, we're going to keep telling you to do this, do this, do this. Now, do this to get out and move into your real life, right? Now, what you're talking about is people getting frustrated. You can see it in the world, people getting angrier and angrier. Can they distinguish between themselves getting a message to move on, or they're getting influenced by this energy? What do you think about that? If that makes any sense? So I went on a little bit, but
Yeah, I think
um,
it makes a little bit of sense here. Like, so what you're saying basically is, when um you call for assistance to your guides or gods or whatever you ask
Well,
for.
not even the guys. The universe is telling you to
Yeah.
move. I think it was in the it was one of those new moons or
Oh,
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah.
things.
So when say you just get a download kind of thing, is that what you
Download, yeah.
mean?
So you're getting the download through the 8A portal, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
to say, right, it's time for you. Okay, this might be this is nice and comfortable, but for you to get to where you want to, we're going to have to move you out and give you situations and remind you to say you are worth more and go, do you really want this for the rest of your life? Even though it's sort of comfortable enough, yeah, it's comfortable enough. And that's exactly, you can see me, yeah, it's comfortable enough, but I'm worth more, if you get where I'm going. So distinguish
Yeah.
between those frustrations where they give you these situations, you go, yeah, okay, I don't really want to be here the rest of my life. It's okay. I'll put up with it. But then you've got like what we do, and we go, like, you get excited about saying, right, we've got to go demon slaying or bloody whatever. I'll play with the or help people with their shadow as I'm doing right now, getting into the shadow self and helping people. But how do you distinguish from what you've been talking about between getting getting a message to say this is you've got to move on to being influenced spiritually at a level, at the 3D level, because we're not there, but they are, by these bloody, I'll call them demons. I ain't fuck, call them demons.
Um, Honestly, the best way, what I've had to do with myself, like the message I just keep getting is take your power back, take your power back, take your power back.
There you
What
go.
feels right for you? And I've talked about this a lot with doing the muscle testing stuff. Like if something feels right and it's actually in your subconscious, your higher self memory, that thing that is right for you will automatically magnetize your nose forward.